Josh Winckowski's campaign to be a starting pitcher for the Boston Red Sox in 2024 isn't going so hot as he got tossed around on the mound in Thursday's loss against the Phillies.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, and I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. And honestly, who doesn't love free? Might as well take advantage of it and start your day off the right way with Locked On Red Sox. Locked On is here for you every day. Welcome to another episode of the show and happy Friday. Congratulations on making it to the end of the week in what was such a beautiful week weather-wise here in the New England area. I'm so happy to have been able to sit outside, get some work done, and just enjoy the weather out there. Hope you've been able to do the same. It's perfect baseball weather, and it's a sure sign that baseball season is close. We are almost there. Only a couple more weeks away from opening day. It's so exciting, and I hope you're ready for that late night because the Red Sox first game of the season is at 10:10 p.m. on the West Coast. I'll be there. Hope you are too. And somebody else who will certainly be there, but may or may not be in the starting rotation is Josh Winckowski. Now, earlier in the offseason in December, Alex Cora mentioned Winckowski as a possibility to be in the starting rotation in 2024, and the Red Sox as an organization said they would see how he does during the spring, kind of make decisions later on for sure in terms of who's going to start and who's going to come out of the bullpen between the likes of Winckowski, Garrett Whitlock, and Tanner Houck. Now, I've always been on the train of liking Winckowski better out of the bullpen. Last year, he threw in 60 games and only one of them was a start and pitched to a 288 earned run average and 4-4 record. He also recorded 3 saves and struck out 82 batters over 84.1 innings pitched. He showed a lot of dominant stuff in the pen last year, and I feel like 2022 wasn't exactly the best situation for him because he was kind of shoved into the starting rotation due to injuries, wasn't really in a position that he was most comfortable being in, and the Red Sox kind of put him in this place of having to start some games when he wasn't necessarily ready to. So that was something that I said, okay, I need to see more from him, see maybe how he is both out of the pen and as a starter, and then kind of make my conclusion on what I prefer. And then in 2023, he spent a lot more time out of the pen and was just so dominant. Now, granted, the fact that he didn't pitch well as a starter as much in 2022 isn't as much a knock on him, but more the fact that the Red Sox didn't have the pitching depth to be able to keep him in a comfortable spot of saying, okay, we don't need him to pitch out of the rotation because we have other guys who can come in and compensate for these injuries. So it was a lot of pressure to put on him at that time. And maybe if he were to start in 2024, it would be better for him and he'd have a better experience on the mound in that case. But what I'm truly wondering is, does he have the capability and the mechanics to be a starter in 2024? He relies very heavily on 2 pitches, and that is a fastball and a cutter. The fastball average miles per hour is about 96 miles an hour, and he uses it about 42% of the time. He has a cutter that averages 89 miles an hour, and he uses roughly 35% of the time. So he heavily relies primarily on those 2 pitches. He has a slider up his sleeve that he uses 16% of the time that he does lean on sometimes, and a changeup that he uses only 6% of the time. So He does have 4 pitches that he can use, but the problem is he doesn't feel comfortable enough with using that changeup and slider, and he relies too heavily on the fastball and the cutter. And when you're pitching out of the pen, it's okay to have 2 very good pitches that you're using because you're just not pitching for as long of a length of time as you are if you're a starter. So as a starter, you need to have more pitches up your sleeve in order to succeed. But for him, having 2 very solid pitches is fine because he's a bullpen piece. So then when you put that all together, you then have to say, okay, can he continue to develop that slider to be able to feel more comfortable using it more? Because if so, then he definitely is capable of being a starter. I mean, he has the strikeout to walk ratio to be successful as a starter. In 2023, his walk percentage 8.4% compared to a 22.3% strikeout rate. Now, that's a significant increase from 2022 because in 2022 he had a 13.9% strikeout rate, so he was able to increase that quite a bit going into the next season, which is a promising sign. So his strikeout to walk ratio was 2.65 strikeouts to every walk compared to 1.63 strikeouts to every walk in 2022. So he has the means to be able to strike out guys pretty regularly. His strikeouts per 9 inning ratio was 8.75 in 2023. So he has that swing and miss capability, but he just needs to mix up his pitch arsenal a little bit more. He did start the Red Sox spring training game on Thursday against the Phillies, in which they took a 6-1 loss, and he struggled. He pitched 3.2 innings, giving up 8 hits, 5 earned runs, and he walked 1 batter and struck out 2. So it was just not his day. 3.2 innings in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of innings relative to him. That's about what he's used to. We did see him sometimes pitch 3 innings at a time when he came out of the pen. The Red Sox seem to be wanting to stretch him out a little bit, maybe see if he has the tools to be able to pitch well as a starter, which is fine. But again, it all goes back to who do they prefer out of that combination of Winckowski, Whitlock, and Houck? Who do they feel is best suited to be in the starting rotation? And to me, Winckowski has the means to be able to do it, but he's not necessarily my best and favorite choice to be in that spot. Now, we wouldn't be in this position if the Red Sox were to go and actually sign a pitcher of value that could contribute out of the starting rotation so that they wouldn't have to use one of these guys internally. But this is where we're at. This is the position that we're in. And for the Boston Red Sox, they don't really have as much of a choice than to say, okay, which one of these guys are we going to try to throw in to the rotation, because we need somebody to be able to be reliable on that 5th day in this group. And Winckowski for sure has potential, but I hope that that Thursday start doesn't make him feel a little bit discouraged, because it definitely is tough. And he was in the type of situation where he was solely pretty much responsible for this loss. It's definitely not a great situation to be in for him. And what does it show? It shows me that it's just a bad spring training start. It's not something that I can say Josh Winckowski is not going to have a good season in 2024. Absolutely not. Just a bad day, not his day. And that's fine, because he's going to have days like that, but it's just a matter of figuring out how do we move on from those bad days, and how do we make sure that next time this doesn't happen and that we can bounce back from it. And I feel like he can bounce back from it. It's just a matter of having that mentality and that mindset of moving forward and brushing it off and going on to the next start. And at the end of the day, it's spring training. So if this is going to happen, it's much better for it to happen now than in July. So if he's going to struggle and the Red Sox need to figure something out with him, it's best for that to have happened now so that they can hone in on what the problem is, and Andrew Bailey can look back and say, okay, what did you do during this outing that we can prevent next time? So with Winckowski, it comes down to, can he build up the stamina to be able to start effectively for the Boston Red Sox moving forward in 2024 and even maybe beyond that? And can he mix up his pitch arsenal a little bit more so that he has enough pitches up his sleeve to be able to use if he is going to start and be successful. So time will tell. A rough outing for him on Thursday, but it wasn't a rough outing for the other pitchers that came in relief of Winckowski on Thursday, and I'm going over that next. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Are you really into sports betting? Is it something you've been wanting to try for a while, or are you simply just like hearing other people's stories about it? If so, FanDuel is the place for you to get all of your sports betting needs. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. The only thing I ask is that if you do bet on March Madness, bet on UConn to win it all. Totally unbiased by me. Just kidding. I am biased. I love UConn. But seriously, they have a great shot, so you should bet on UConn. The Boston Red Sox had a spring training game on Thursday. They did struggle. They did fall 6-1 against the Phillies. And Josh Winckowski got tossed around in his start. So not the best day for him, but he did have pitchers who came in relief and looked very good. The first one was Chris Murphy, who came in and pitched 2.1 innings, giving up just 1 hit and 0 runs. He also walked 1, but struck out 5. That's a great day for Chris Murphy. We did see him pitch for Boston last year, and he did struggle a little bit. Pitched to the tune of a 4.91 ERA with a 1-2 record over 20 games that he pitched. He did record 1 save on the season as well, and struck out 49 hitters over 47.2 innings. So he had his ups and downs. He would come out of the pen and sometimes had great outings, other times struggled, and he always left me wondering, what is there to Chris Murphy? Is there more to him that we haven't seen yet? Does he have a recipe for success that he hasn't been able to hone in on yet? And I think this offseason going into 2024 is going to be a big year for him to really figure out where he fits in with this Red Sox team. Is he a type of guy who can be a longer reliever? Can he pitch in high leverage situations? Can he be a bridge guy for the closer? Can he be a guy who's better suited to pitch if the Red Sox have a big lead? This is going to be a big offseason and season in general for him to really establish himself and figure out where he belongs, because he spent some time in AAA last year, spent some time up at the majors, and he didn't get a full opportunity. He really was thrown in there due primarily to injuries and the Red Sox not having enough guys readily available. So they gave him his shot, and then he got sent back down to AAA and then came back up. So I'm interested in seeing how much faith they have in him, but that's definitely a good improvement for him. Striking out 5 over 2.1 innings is really serious stuff. That's keys for success later on. If you can get that strikeout number up, then maybe you have to fix some other things about your pitching resume or about your approach. But if you can get those swings and misses, that's a great step in the right direction. So that's something about Chris Murphy that stands out to me that I'm hoping to see more of from him in 2024 is developing that confidence to improve his stance on the mound and improve just the way that he goes about the game and the way that he carries himself when he's out there. Can he throw more types of pitches? And can he be a guy the Red Sox can rely on in those high leverage situations? Or is he going to fold under the pressure? So that's a big storyline with him heading into 2024. Another pitcher who came in relief is Isaiah Campbell, who pitched 1 inning, just giving up 1 hit and struck out 2 batters. So he had a very solid, clean inning, looked very good, didn't walk anybody, had no trouble with his command, went out there, got the job done, struck out 2 batters and gave up 1 hit. That's good stuff as well. And Isaiah Campbell has a lot of promise. So the Red Sox traded Luis Urias to the Seattle Mariners back in November to acquire Isaiah Campbell. And a lot of people that are Mariners fans or Mariners media people were reacting to it and were disappointed because Campbell's a promising young reliever with a lot of control through 2029. And they basically traded him for a utility player who was coming off a down season. And it didn't seem to make sense for a lot of Mariners fans that they did that because the Red Sox got a good arm in this deal. And Craig Breslow did say his main focus this offseason when it came to trades was to focus on getting good pitching in return. And he has definitely done that. And Isaiah Campbell's another pitcher who you can throw in there that has promise. Last year, he recorded a 4-1 record with a 2.83 ERA. He pitched in 27 games, didn't start any, but recorded 1 save and struck out 33 over 28.2 innings pitched. So for him, he definitely has the promise to be a successful pitcher. My question with him is, where is he going to fit in? Is he going to be pitching out of the Red Sox pen? Is he going to start in AAA? Do the Red Sox feel like he needs more time to be able to develop before he comes and throws on the Red Sox major league roster? That's a big question. He definitely would be ready for the majors. He's already had a good taste of it. He definitely has the potential to be on the major league roster. It's just a matter of where does he fit in? Do the Red Sox feel like he has the capability to handle being on the opening day roster? And especially because he's coming from a different organization. And yes, he did pitch in the majors last year, but there is that adjustment period of pitching in a new system, getting to know that system, navigating your way through and learning, okay, this is what they expect of me here. It's a different environment. So there might be some growing pains there with him. So I'm just wondering if the Red Sox plan is to let him pitch through that, let him develop while being on the major league roster, or if they're going to start him in a little bit of an easier environment and have him start at AAA. So that's a real question we're watching about Isaiah Campbell heading into the rest of spring training and into the season, is where the Red Sox going to place him. And the last pitcher that came into the game for Boston was Jorge Benitez. He also pitched 1 inning and gave up 0 earned runs, just walked 1 hitter, didn't strike out anybody, but got the job done, didn't give up any runs. So that's the main thing here. He was pretty much on point besides the 1 walk. So he did have a little bit of a command issue, but overall nothing crazy. Jorge Benitez was drafted by the Mariners in the 9th round of 2017. I know Seattle's just a theme on today's show. And then he was acquired by the Red Sox in November as a minor league free agent. The Red Sox figured they would take a chance with him, and they figured, why not? He definitely has some upside. In terms of mechanics, he kind of throws from a low 3/4 arm slot, has a little bit of a jerky delivery with some deception, and can have issues finding a constant release point. His fastball goes about 88 to 92 miles an hour, sinking fastball that lacks a little bit of velocity, but he can hopefully get that up. And he has a changeup that's solid, that averages 78 to 82 miles an hour, and a curveball that travels about 72 to 76 miles an hour. And that will help him be a little bit more versatile of a pitcher if he can master that curveball. It's more effective against left-handed hitters. So he has 3 pitches that he can work with. For him, he's still developing here. I'm sure the Red Sox will try to find ways to get him into some games when the season starts. He'll likely start the season in the minors and develop some more because his stuff isn't exactly fully major league ready yet. He did have a good 1-inning outing on Thursday, but there's still more to learn about him, still more that the Red Sox need to see from him before they can confidently say, okay, he's going to be part of our opening day roster. I think he's not going to likely be. The Red Sox probably brought him in for the sake of some pitching depth, a guy who they saw had some potential and could be worked into the bullpen one day, but he likely will start down at AAA and focus on the development aspect of his game. And I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see him continue to develop his arm and improve some of those pitches that he has to offer because he could eventually be a special piece to the puzzle for Boston. What is it really like playing a spring training game against the Boston Red Sox? You are about to find out coming up next. Amazon Fire TV is your destination for all things sports. If you ever want to be able to watch live games or record anything and watch it later, Amazon Fire TV will provide all of that for you. And Fire TV actually recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels lets you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports. March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Fire TV is definitely a great thing to have, as is Locked On Sports Today, the Locked On Network's first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's very exciting. We are the only network to have it, and it's a great way for you to stay caught up in everything going on in sports without having to worry about anything. All of our local experts here at Locked On will keep you updated on everything. So if you want to make sure you're staying caught up in all things going on in sports, head to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, and it's also available on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. As you know, Locked On has launched that first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today. But baseball fans, mark your calendars for March 20th at 7 p.m. EST for the best MLB season preview coming exclusively to Locked On Sports Today. On March 20th at 7 p.m. EST, be the first to get local insight from the MLB local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Find it on March 20th at 7 p.m. EST on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. You won't want to miss this preview. I promise it's going to be so exciting. Sometimes people wonder what it's actually like to play a spring training game against the Boston Red Sox. I was lucky enough to speak to somebody who has that perspective. A catcher for Northeastern University baseball, Jimmy Sullivan, who actually spent his first 2 years of college at UMass Lowell playing on their baseball team. And then he decided to transfer to Northeastern to get some more exposure, more playing time, and up his academic rigor. So he chose Northeastern. It's a great baseball school, and he's been getting a lot of playing time there. And as you know, Northeastern was the first team that the Red Sox played against in spring training this year before they started their official spring training slate. And I was lucky enough to speak to Jimmy, and he gave me some insight as to what it's like to play a spring training game against the Boston Red Sox. And you are about to hear from him and find out a little bit more about a guy who grew up a Red Sox fan, who some of the players were that he enjoyed watching, and also some insight as to being on the side of being a college athlete and playing against the Boston Red Sox in a game.
For you, obviously, I know you grew up a Red Sox fan. Who were some of your favorite players growing up that you enjoyed watching?
I loved Jason Varitek, and I actually got to meet him uh, through the Red Sox game we played last season. I talked to him for a couple of minutes. And then David Ortiz as well is one of my favorites, and uh, kind of like maybe a different one is I love watching John Lester pitch when I was younger, and especially like all those playoff games and stuff. So those three were probably like some of my big favorites.
Definitely all legends in Boston. Big
Yeah,
Poppy. I mean, I actually met him at Red Sox winter weekend this year, and that was pretty cool.
yeah, that's
Because
awesome.
obviously, like just a forever legend in Boston and one of my
Hmm.
favorite players to ever play too. Veritek too. I mean, that must have been cool for you too because of the fact that he played the same position as you.
Yeah,
So him being able to, give you some advice from that standpoint is probably cool.
yeah. I mean, the Red Sox game in general is just really cool because you go down there and it's all like, who am I going to see? Who? Because you never know who you're going to see there. You could. My junior year, they played like basically the opening day lineup, and this year it was a lot more prospects and um, minor league guys or things like that. So you never know who you're going to see, but like the people you get to meet there and the opportunity you have just to like be around that environment, like was an awesome experience.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was. Do you feel like that kind of was able to challenge you? These
Mhm.
guys are, already making it at the professional level. Like this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, like getting up, like just seeing them and like how they go about their business and like taking batting practice or ground balls or whatever they're deciding to do on that day. I mean, I think that it's really cool to just see how someone who's at the highest level like goes about their business and get this like actually be on the field with them and like get that view is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably so awesome. Like I was like telling Dave too, I was like, this is probably such a cool experience for them to be
Mhm.
able to get exposure to some of these guys and, go head to head with them and kind of
Yeah.
like see firsthand where they're actually at with their skills and everything.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of just it puts a little bit in perspective, like, you know, A, how good they are, but like B, how good like our team is and putting up runs against them or like being in a pretty close game with them, like it makes us feel good about where we're at as a team uh going into whoever we're playing next. So
Yeah, you guys definitely were putting up some competitive at bats there in that game. So that was really cool to watch too. And with these guys too, a lot of the players, like you mentioned, that the Red Sox put out there for that game are
mhm.
prospects who are trying to work their way up to eventually get to the majors. So for them, they're still very much at the level of, I have to prove myself in this organization so I can make my mark here and get up to the majors eventually. So they're in an interesting spot too. A lot of those guys who are still very much in the learning process and trying to navigate through the system.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you have something like that, it makes like we're playing hard, and they're playing hard too because they're trying to make the team or whatever their goals are. So, you know, I think it makes for a pretty competitive game, and I've had those that going to those playing in those games probably like the best baseball experience I've ever had, and it's pretty cool to play in front of fans and they're cheering for the Red Sox, but they're also cheering for us, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, with that Boston connection, they probably like both teams. So that's probably pretty
Hmm.
cool to see. How long were you actually down there for?
So we flew down on Thursday and played the game on Friday against the Red Sox, and then played a Saturday Sunday series with the University of Minnesota at one game at JetBlue and one game at the Twins stadium. I think it's like Lee County Stadium over there, and then flew home that night. So Like
Oh, wow, pretty quick
three and
turnaround.
a half, 4 days.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, so you didn't get to enjoy much of that Florida weather and being down
No,
there for
no,
a long time,
no.
unfortunately.
And there you have it, folks. That's what it's like to play in a spring training game as an opponent against the Boston Red Sox. We are so much closer to opening day. So, as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.